So I'm a dietitian and I have a lot of conversations with patients about water intake and how sometimes water intake can be really challenging and tricky for a number of reasons. And one of those reasons that I commonly have a conversation about is people getting the water ick. Now, the word ick might, from the dictionary kind of be referred to as a exclamation of disgust. However, I like to think of it in this scenario as a bit of flavor fatigue around water, which is completely understandable for a lot of people, particularly those who are neurodivergent. Now, it's completely okay to have the water ick. However, I find that this can be an issue and a barrier for people trying to get enough water in, especially in populations that I see in the visible illness population, such as those with dysautonomia, orthostatic intolerance, and or POTS. So here are some tips that I talk through with patients to help get over the water ick. And at the end of this video, comment down below any other tips that you feel are helpful or have been helpful in the past to get you through your water ick. So the first is adding fresh fruit or fresh flavors. So it might be adding in some berries or some tropical fruit or some citrus fruit or some herbs like mint or whatever kind of flavors you prefer. And it might be kind of muddling them and crushing them up in your glass, or it might be just kind of letting them sit and letting that sit in the fridge and just kind of infusing over a period of time. It might be not strong enough for you, so you might want to add things like cordial or even something like flavor drops. So we sell the Vital Zing water drops, which just a couple of drops in water make your water taste very fresh. Like a lot of them are fruit flavors. So if cutting up fresh fruit and accessing fresh fruit and vegetables just isn't within your capacity, something like this is super easy, small, can pop it in your bag, can take it with you anywhere. And I find it really accessible and their flavors are really tasty. Another thing might be potentially alternating and swapping between like herbal teas, and it could be like iced herbal teas. There are so many brands that do like the cold infused tea bags, or it could be warm teas if that's your jam as well, depending on the temperature outside and how that affects you as well. So any kind of herbal or decaffeinated tea I'd recommend, and basically whatever flavor or flavor combinations you prefer. And last but not least, this one's a bit of a loaded one, but it's essentially any other form of hydrating fluids. So that could be like milk or juice or kind of anything similar along the lines of that. It could also be electrolytes. So we talk about electrolytes a lot, and we have heaps of videos on electrolytes and why we recommend electrolytes, so go through our YouTube and have a look at those. But we can do our simple electrolytes. Like today I'm drinking some pH 1500. I love the amount of sodium in it, and it just really helps me with my symptoms. But we can have something, again, a bit more fruity, a bit more salty, a bit more citrusy. We've got lots of options, and there are lots of options out there. But sometimes if you're someone who drinks electrolytes really regularly, you might also get the electrolyte ick. So when we come into this conundrum or scenario, I like to think, well, how can we mix them up? How can we make them different? How can we make them more accessible? And that's why I actually wrote a electrolyte recipe book. It is called Hydrate. And you can buy it from our store, but essentially it's a collection of electrolyte mocktails from a variety of different brands and flavors. It's also got some electrolyte icy poles that are super helpful in summer as a bit of a hydrating snack, and also electrolyte jellies, which I think are super fun and I really enjoyed experimenting with. I've also done a DIY electrolyte recipe in there for those who don't particularly like purchasing and buying their electrolytes. It's a lot more cost friendly, and for some people it just allows them to kind of know what is in their electrolytes, and that's something that some people might feel more comfortable with. So there should be a link down below to that electrolyte recipe book if you're interested. But like I said before, let me know if you liked any of these tips, or if you have any other tips that I haven't thought about. It might help someone else out who is currently experiencing the water ick. Thank you so much for listening, and remember to stay hydrated.